it looks as though it's merely a formality before the official recession is called. So people are going to want to buy gold and silver, and new people are coming into the market. The problem is they're running into some scams because these new people don't know what to do. Hence the reason for my video. I wanted to do a video today to talk about the scam and the anatomy of it and to show you what actually happened, but then to give a recommendation on how to avoid that if you're wanting to get in gold and silver space and you're not wanting to store it at home. And we'll talk.
Welcome to Gold Silver Pros.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Quincz, your host of 𝘲𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙀. We're bringing you a presentation on another gold scam that occurred, and this time it fooled the mainstream media, including Forbes and the Rolling Stone. We're going to have a giggle at that and tell you the anatomy of how this gold scam went down. We're broadcasting this to you on June 13th, 2023. And I want to talk to you about how to avoid those scams and make some recommendations and talk to you about some business partners we have that may help you work through that so you don't have to worry about that. What happened? What the heck happened? Well, let's get into the story. Before we do, however, I wanted to talk a little bit about why people would store their gold and silver in the first place. Yes, this is a scam over storage of the precious metals. And here's why. As we look at the Incrementum in Gold We Trust report, you can see they have a nice chart here talking about the relationship between the interest rate of the central bank here in the US, the Fed, and recessions. You can see that every time the federal funds rate goes up, we're either in a recession or it leads to a recession. Now we've had a nice uptick since COVID, and we had the banking crisis, and that looks to be a precursor to another recession. Everybody's calling for it. We've had the yield curve invert. It looks as though it's merely a formality before the official recession is called. So people are going to want to buy gold and silver, and new people are coming into the market. The problem is they're running into some scams because these new people don't know what to do. Hence the reason for my video. I wanted to do a video today to talk about the scam and the anatomy of it and to show you what actually happened, but then to give a recommendation on how to avoid that if you're wanting to get in gold and silver space and you're not wanting to store it at home. And we'll talk about the pros and cons of putting it at home as well during the video. But what I wanted to do now is show you a video of what happened. This was put out, I believe, by Inside Edition. And so we want to show you exactly what happened there. They've got a video out on their channel, and let's listen to that report right now.
You've seen those ads touting gold as an investment. Well, all these people were so confident in one gold company, they poured their life savings into it. Then they say they got robbed. Lisa Guerrero investigates.
You see them everywhere, especially on cable.
Protect yourself from outrageous inflation. Buy gold.
Ads selling gold as a great investment in times of economic distress, like the pandemic.
There's only one asset class that performed consistently well in times of economic turmoil.
But all these folks say the gold investments offered by a different company called Regal Assets caught their eye.
Regal Assets is the only gold company endorsed by celebrity investors, such as Laura Ingraham.
The only company I trust with the process is Regal Assets.
When I decided that I wanted to protect my money, I looked at different companies and I was impressed with Regal Assets.
Lawrence Fernandez, a retired CBS TV editor, says he invested nearly everything he had, over $1 million. But he says all that gold never came.
It's out in the ether somewhere. It just vanished.
Fernandez and all these other investors are now part of a Facebook group calling themselves Victims of Regal Assets. Altogether, they say they've lost over $10 million.
How much money did you end up losing altogether?
All of it. All of it.
Your entire life savings?
Yes.
We're still missing $391,760.
So how much money altogether did you and your husband lose through Regal Assets?
$483,000. It has been very hard. We have to ask for a loan recently to pay some bills.
This is the CEO and founder of Regal Assets, Tyler Gallagher.
Inflation's, it's on the rise.
He lived lavishly in Beverly Hills and was driven around town in a luxury car, chauffeured by 𝘲𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙀. He says Gallagher was a loose cannon and often drunk.
He was eating these chocolate-covered mushrooms, the psychedelic mushrooms covered in chocolate.
So he was doing drugs and drinking throughout the day, every day?
Every day.
I mean,
Greed is a hell of a drug.
Kevin Snyder, who sold investments at Regal Assets for a year before he says he was let go for financial reasons, says Gallagher's top aide was Leah Donoso, the president of the company.
She ran the entire back end with all the shipping and tracking and security of the metals. So I couldn't see how she didn't know. I feel bad for anyone else that gets caught up in whatever she's doing.
Many of the investors we spoke to tell the same story, saying that Leah Donoso happily took their retirement money and then spoon-fed them lies about when they'd receive their gold. But after months of delays and their gold still missing, they say they soon started to fear the worst.
We caught up with Leah Donoso in a parking lot in Waco, Texas.
Hi, we'd like to talk to you about Regal Assets.
No comment, thank you.
Did you take advantage of your investors?
No comment, thank you.
So where is Tyler Gallagher today? Well, apparently not in Beverly Hills anymore. He's reportedly moved to the Middle East nation of Dubai, known for its wealth and lively nightlife.
I would tell him to keep running because I want to put him in jail for life. I feel very vengeful. I'm not a forgiving person.
What kind of a man does this to people like us, to God-loving, God-fearing people that are just trying to do good for themselves?
Now, most of these folks say they're left wondering if they'll have to find new jobs instead of enjoying their retirement.
It hurts. I had a lot of plans. Now they have to be altered. I want to see justice. I want to see him arrested.
Tyler Gallagher did not respond to our request for comment. His top aide, Leah Donoso, says she is cooperating with authorities.
All right, now that's a very interesting report because as we dig into it, there's a lot more to it about how he did it. And I'll get to the anatomy here in a moment. I've actually got it in a PowerPoint presentation. I'll show you guys. Before we do that, I wanted to show you some of the complaints that people have had on the Better Business Bureau about Regal Assets. Here's one reported May 16, 2023, just last month. I purchased gold bullion from Regal Assets and was told the transaction would take about 8 weeks. I received the paperwork from CNB showing a depository account had been opened for me about 3 weeks later. Then a few months after that, I saw that gold had gone up, so I called Regal Assets to inquire about my account balance. The phone number was not in service, so I Googled Regal Assets only to find out they were out of business with no forwarding phone number. I found out that had disappeared, the manager, and took all of the funds received. Another one here, on 1/11/22, my wife and I transferred $330,000 from the traditional to a gold with Regal Assets. And where they're talking about transferring to a gold IRA, which was the format that they used to get people to invest, is to take money out of their existing qualified accounts and go into a gold IRA, which is another type of qualified account. The custodian is such and such. Since we invested, the assets of gold, silver, and platinum have never been deposited into the depository institution. Numerous emails and phone calls were made to the management to get a status of the metals delivery. I needed to have a mandatory RMD distributed by April 1st of the year, or there is a penalty. The metals were not in the depository, so the entire life savings for retirement for my wife and I had been scammed. I've contacted an attorney who works on a contingent basis to try and get something back from this criminal enterprise. Another one, we purchased metals in September 2021. Our custodial banks sent us an audit letter stating that our metals were never delivered. I'm one of the many people that have been scammed by the president of the fraudulent company. Please join us. We have formed this group to transfer our next steps. Victims of Regal Assets, by the way, is a Facebook group. I'm not going to put it up on the screen. There are 65 members last I checked, and you can go check out that Facebook group. It's a private group, but my understanding is you can join and perhaps talk to people there if you want to do some research into what happened. One more, I can't find an email, phone number, or website to speak with a representative at this business. Better Business Bureau has those, but they don't go through. I want to speak to someone about my deceased husband's assets at the company. I have the death certificate available to me to speak with someone. So that's someone trying to gain control of their assets that they put in. This is a heartbreaking story, but ladies and gentlemen, it really gets worse. And that's something that I'm going to show you on the screen. I'm going to give you a presentation which basically shows essentially what occurred here and why it happened. It's an interesting story. The guy basically went on mainstream media and he got written about by Rolling Stone and Forbes. And, you know, according to his driver on that video, he was driving around stoned and they weren't servicing the needs of their customers. And these are the types of warning signs you want to look for. If somebody is not responding to you and they have your gold and silver and you've stored it with them, that's a warning sign that you don't necessarily, you know, want to get involved with that company. So here's a presentation I have for you guys to talk about it. Storing precious metals, how to do it safely. I put this together for you guys. Here's the anatomy of a scam part. This is Tyler Gallagher. As you can see, he was a member of a special Forbes council, finance council. So he fooled a major magazine, Forbes, which is associated with the elite and is associated, you know, with wealth and a very well established. And apparently they didn't do their background check on him. He also got, I think, on Laura Gallagher show, if that's correct. She's a conservative talk show host here in the United States on radio. I think I've heard her before. I believe she was one of the people that had endorsed him as well. And apparently he had fooled her. Here's the anatomy. He was a rags to riches story. He grew up very poor. And this was his story about how he made well. And that story really enamored people and caused them to look at him as some sort of very successful entrepreneur. He was able to hook in those celebrity endorsers that I mentioned, and that's what got him to a bigger network to where he could affect his scam. And basically, it's a type of Ponzi scheme where he would take people's money in, and then he wouldn't provide the metal at the end of the day. And I don't know whether he was providing enough to keep people satisfied for a little while, but it sounds like by the video, he wasn't really buying the gold at all. And looking at the Better Business Bureau, he wasn't buying it all. So the scam didn't last too awful long. He was featured in mainstream media on Forbes and Rolling Stone. He began with a series of excuses to customers. They lacked transparency. You saw the phone number. They didn't have audit records available. People were not returning phone calls, didn't have a website, complete, you know, warning signs there. If there's no transparency, they may not be a legitimate company. I'm going to tell you how to get transparency in these storage companies here in a moment. The founder is larger than life. And then he started an esports company. So of course he's successful. So he's going to do another venture. And that seemed to edify his existing gold business, you know, Regal, because he's starting an esports company, but he was starting it with ill-gotten profits. People just didn't know it back then. And of course he fled to Dubai, and that's the story. What not to do when you're looking up a gold storage company or you're looking at buying gold and silver. Don't put your gold and silver in a safe deposit box, because the banks can confiscate what's in a safe deposit box, whether it's gold, silver, or anything else. It's not safe. We've seen examples of this in history. I strongly encourage you not to use a safe deposit box or even a private storage company that houses private items if they allow anonymous clientele. So if they allow anonymous clientele, those tend to be the targets of three-letter agencies in the U.S. that then confiscate drugs and other things in those locations that they associate with crime. And because it's anonymous, it's hard for you to get your stuff back. So don't go to an independent place where you can store it anonymously. Be careful with that, because those can be taken by the government if they believe that some of the contents within that vault belong to ill-gotten gains or crime. They can take your stuff too. Don't put it in a safe deposit box. Banks have the authority to confiscate that upon government request. Don't bury it somewhere you can't find it, and put it in a cache somewhere out in the wilderness and you can't find it even on your own property, because you need to be able to find it when you need it. As obviously hiding it from yourself is not great. So just make sure if you're going to do one of those options, you know where it is. And don't wait to buy gold and silver because you see this scam and it puts you off. You're like, I can't buy it because it's not reliable. There are ways to store it safely. I'm going to show you some of those things that you should do. Consider storing in a remote, safe location, a safe jurisdiction with laws written to support that model of storing gold and silver, and to support the model of you having private title to that gold and silver. Look for providers that have audits published on the webpage or provide you that audit information, and also provide you title protection, meaning you know where the gold came from. They have the proper procedures for onboarding that gold, and that gold's going to be credited to your account and to the account of its customers. And it has clear chain of title along the way. You don't want gold that may belong to someone else. Make sure that your gold storage provider provides that information. Make sure you have easy access to it. If you want to redeem it and get it back, make sure there are ways for you to do that. And the interesting thing here is there's more than one way to do that. You can definitely sell it back to the provider, and they can wire you the funds. A lot of times you can go get the gold and silver itself. Some have other methods for getting access, whether to the gold, silver, or selling it for fiat, and be able to do that instantaneously. We'll talk about that. Keep your plans private. Adopt a, quote unquote policy of truth. And this is the name of the song by 𝘲𝙃 Mode, I believe, that came out in the 90s. And they're talking about only talk about what you need to talk about with the right people. Don't divulge that you have gold and silver in the first place. unless you're doing it to someone that you trust, and then don't divulge where you have it or how you can get access to it, because it can simply make you a target. And that's one of the things to worry about if you're storing gold and silver at home and you tell anybody, the chances for a home invasion go way up. In fact, I was looking at some of the statistics around home invasion and why you may not want to store all of any of your valuables all at home is because if you don't have an alarm system, your chances go up 300%. If somebody knows you have something or suspects you have something, the chances go way up. And about 2/3 of all burglaries in the US were home invasion type of burglaries, where they went in during the daytime between the hours of 12 and 4. A lot of times people were at home and that led to violent altercations. A lot of times they weren't, but that's what happens during robberies and home invasions. It is a very real thing. One occurs every 30 seconds in the United States. So if you're going to have valuables at home, make sure that nobody knows, they're well protected in safes, and probably don't keep too much. And again, I'm not providing you guys financial advice, so I'm going to put that disclaimer up here on the screen. This isn't financial advice. It's really just research for your purposes to provide you information to help you. Please do your own research. Some things that we need to focus on, some of my recommendations are make sure that you're the one true owner. Make sure that you're in an allocated storage scheme. That means you're not in a shared storage scheme where somebody else has the same claim to the gold that you do. Make sure you have clear title to the gold that you say you have. Now, there could be pooled allocated where it's stored and you have in big bars and you have a claim on part of that bar. That still could provide you legal title to that gold. They just need to basically provide it to you in smaller form, giving you smaller coins and bars or allowing you to sell that for cash. But as long as you have clear title, whether it's pooled allocated or completely segregated allocated, those tend to support your individual ownership rights. Now, and a lot of providers will offer both. You can own fractional ownership in a bar and then redeem that for either smaller bars and coins or sell it, or you can get fully segregated allocated, which means everything that you buy is segregated into its own container and only you have that, and it's in smaller denominations. That segregated allocated is a little bit better in terms of clear title to exactly what you own. And for redemption, it's easy. They just hand you the bag when you walk up and say, here's your bag or your box of stuff minus, or whatever the fees are. And that's good to have that segregated. A lot of times it costs a little bit more. So just be aware of that. You can do pool allocated or segregated. I like segregated better, but pool allocated does work. And some providers provide both. So ask about the difference between pool allocated and completely segregated and allocated. Different people are comfortable with different things. Just know the laws and know the scheme so that you're comfortable with that and making your own decision. The next thing is you want easy access redemption. Make sure that you have ways to get access to your metals. Let's talk about different ways. Some people, they will allow you to go to the vault if it's in your home country or home state, and you can drive right up and redeem it that way. Some, they'll ship it to you, but there could be a cost. Now, if you've got it stored overseas, it could be more of a cost unless they have a domestic partner. So if that overseas company has a domestic partner and you can work through that domestic partner, such as a wholesaler or a mint, or even a capitalized big dealer network, then you can redeem that. And I'll show you an example of one of those here in a moment, which allows you to do that. So you can redeem it that way. They can mail it to you. In some cases, they give you a debit card, like with a Glint or a Kinesis or other types of companies where you have your allocated gold and silver stored. It's yours. You run the debit card. Let's say you buy, $100 worth of gas to fill up for the week and other stuff at the convenience store, and you use that debit card. It just simply sells $100 worth of gold, silver from your account, turns it into cash, and then sends that information over to the vendor. So they basically handle that all in the background for you. So you basically can spend your gold and silver with a debit card. That's a cool way to do it if you want access to the value of the gold and silver. Another way to do it is to pass it via blockchain. Kinesis has that, where you can pass KEUs and KGs via the blockchain. The blockchain is audited and matched up to the gold and silver, so you can send payments that way. And it's quicker. It's like sending a crypto payment or just an instant online payment like a Zelle, but it's sent through that interface. It's done very quickly, and you can send money almost instantaneously. You can also buy and sell on the market. So those are some ways to get redemption. Other than just getting the raw physical or selling for cash, you have debit cards, you have blockchain, you have other ways to do it. So there are lots of options out there depending on what you want to do, and you can mix and match. You can have different providers and have access to different ways of doing things. The next one is that you have a ready market for that gold and silver, meaning there's liquidity when you're buying and selling so that you're getting good prices. And a sign of liquidity means there's a lot of customers that trust that product and they're exchanging, they're buying and they're selling. So when you go to buy to put in your remote storage account, you want good prices, you want liquidity. If there are a lot of customers buying and selling, there will be a ready marketplace there. A ready marketplace is a sign of a company that's doing well, that's supporting its customers, has enough customers in the system where there's liquidity in case you want to buy and sell. Because even though some people hold forever, some people need to sell for different things. I sold some gold and silver recently for a business venture I was going into, and I needed ready access to it. And the provider that I had that, and it was fantastic. Quality providers. The provider is known for being honest, and they publish audits or other information to prove it. Audits are the best way. Not everybody publishes audits. If they don't publish an audit, then I would just get really familiar with that company and know that that company is very respectable, has been in business for a long time, and that you have access to see your metal via pictures, via an app, via an internal account audit report that you can request either via an online portal or through a representative. The more technology they use to provide you more instant access to your information, to what you own, to where it's stored, the better. But in some cases, you can do this manually as well, just by requesting a little account audit report of your own, and they'll provide that to you. Also look at Better Business Ratings, look at reputation, go to review sites, talk to your friends, make sure that the company is well capitalized. If they have financials out, if they're public, if they're not public and they're private, just ask them about their financial position, how long they've been in business, and do all of that research like you would for any other product before you buy. The last one here and things to focus on is full transparency. The company has a formal communication strategy with customers and provides regular updates. This is not unlike any other business. This is not unlike Apple with quarterly earnings reports or interactions with the public about their products and what they're doing. You also want this in the gold storage space. Why wouldn't you want it? If the company's not out there talking to you, you don't know what's going on. If they're not talking about features, you don't know what options you have. If they're not answering and doing Ask Me Anythings or other FAQ type sessions periodically with the public, you don't get to ask them any questions. There's a lack of transparency. We don't know what's going on. So we want them to be transparent to us and facilitate conversations with us so we can get comfortable with them. That's very important, and don't underestimate the value of transparency and access to management. That's why when I bring providers on the show for you guys, I talk to their management. I bring them out in front of you so that you can ask questions and I can ask questions, because full transparency is very, very important. A couple of options that we have talked about that are either sponsors of the show or our business partners. Kinesis Money does sponsor the show. We do benefit from this, but we like them. And I brought them on because we like them. We think that they're a good option. They started off with the ABX, which is allocated storage, fully audited storage that they have there in Australia. They also have other locations around the world where they store using major companies like Brinks to store for them. And they also have their own private vault as well. Those are audited. Now they used to do yearlies and now they're doing quarterlies. And because they also have an asset-backed digital currency blockchain on top where you can trade in KAGs and KAUs, they also match the results of the holdings on the blockchain to the actual physical precious metal itself and publish that quarterly as well. And that's certified by an independent agency that does the audit work. That is a very strong indication that that company has what they say they have. This is not going to be, another Regal, because they have those audits. They're integrated with ABX Gold Exchange platform, so you get good prices on your gold and silver, because before Kinesis started Kinesis Project, the founder started ABX, and ABX is an exchange, so they created their own liquidity. They're their own market maker. They're also vertically integrated up and down the supply chain for gold and silver, so they can source their own gold and silver and mint it themselves. This is very big. They provide regular company updates and access to management for questions. I've had the CEO on the show before. I've talked to him on several occasions, met him twice, met him in New York, and also met him down here in Dallas on 2 occasions. I've spoken to many of the people on their team. They're trying to do monthly or bi-monthly AMAs, Ask Me Anythings, where members of the team answer questions. We've done Twitter Spaces. They have a whole web forums out there. They have explainer videos. They have several people, friends of ours of the show, like Dave Cranslow, who writes stories for them, and other people as well. So they're very well connected to people in the gold and silver market, and they offer a lot of transparency and access. And that's key. When companies offer transparency access, it means they're not trying to hide things, or less likely to be able to hide things when you're able to question them. They're also vertically integrated, which I talked about, and they have the asset-backed digital currency for people that are into digital currencies but want it backed by gold and silver one-to-one audited. Kinesis has that. So if you want to trade your gold and silver online with the blockchain as the ledger, using a digital token backed by gold and silver one-to-one, Kinesis has that option. Also, I have a relationship with 𝘎𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙀, who has a gold storage product, gold, silver, and platinum, called CyberMetals. That's cybermetals.com for those of you interested. I trust them. I've met them in person. They're here in Dallas-Fort Worth. I also do content for them. So my relationship with them is not a sponsor to the show, but I provide content for their blog, and I provide them a way to reach the audience so that they can sell their metals. And they do have fully allocated storage. They're insured by Lloyd's of London. This is a well-established brand. 𝘽𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙈 is a part of a larger gold and silver network in the United States. It's one of the biggest in the U.S., one of the most respected names in 𝘬𝘧. The storage partner 𝘬𝘧 owns the SilverTowne Mint. You guys have seen me talk about SilverTowne and some of their physical bullion products, which I love. They're also a big investor in the Sunshine Mint. Sunshine Mint, I believe, still provides the blanks for the U.S. Mint to do their American Silver Eagles, I believe. So Sunshine is a major mint here in the U.S. So we're talking about well-established partners that don't want to scam anybody, because it would reflect negatively now on 4 different well-established commercial entities. So I believe that CyberMetals, given that, is more than likely a very, very good option. They also have that trusted reputation. They have an automatic savings plan and an app that you can use to manage and see access to your account, which is talking about that full transparency and that instant access. You can also redeem through 𝘽𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙈. So let's say you put money into CyberMetals. For some reason, you want to get your metals out. You can go through 𝘽𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙈, and that trusted 𝘽𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙈 partner will send you those metals to you. So again, these are 2 that I have a commercial relationship with. Now, you may say, well, Rob, you have a commercial relationship. Should we trust you? Because what about this other guy? Well, that's one of the things I want to bring up. That's why I'm very careful who I bring on the program, and I do my own due diligence, because I want legitimate companies. I would have never invested in Regal because the guy is not transparent and the story seemed a little sketchy to me. And we do a little bit more research than will Forbes and Rolling Stone. You know, not to discount Forbes and Rolling Stone, which are big media outlets, but they don't do the kind of research or understand the gold market as well as we do. We've been on mining tours. We've talked with mining executives. We've, looked at vaults. We have relationships with gold and silver providers. So we're a full spectrum end to end, from when it comes out of the ground to when you get the physical precious metal, or you invest in asset-backed digital currency on the chain. In either case, we're full service information and research provider. So we have looked at it end to end, and we feel like we can ask the right questions to get more confidence. So when you see somebody recommended on our program, you know that we've done our due diligence, and you know that we're not going to do business with anybody that doesn't have a good reputation. And just a quick little thing here from Disney: the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. All that means is don't allow this to discourage you, whatsoever, from what you want to do and your plans in storing gold and silver. Certainly you can have some at home, but beware of home invasions, beware of burglaries, beware of risk to your family, beware of when you store it at home, you do not have the perimeter security or the interior security that a properly secured and funded professional gold and silver and platinum storage provider will give you, like some of the ones I recommend. If you don't like the ones I recommend, I fully, recommend that you as well go out and look at your own options. There are plenty of good providers out there. We've had Glint Pay on the program before. My understanding is they're a really good provider. They also provide the debit card access. There's Load if you want another asset-backed digital currency company like Kinesis, where they have it on the chain. And there are some redemption rights there as well. I believe you can look at their terms. There are other companies like that which could be legitimate providers. So what you want to do is basically just check into them, look at the things I've talked to you about, look at the anatomy of the scam in the video over Regal. Don't fall for that kind of stuff. Look at our recommendations for things you want to look for. Talk to account representatives, look at their website, ask them for paper to prove that they have what they have, whether it be an audit or some sort of assurance, account transparency you can see. Make sure you have proper chain of title. Make sure you have fully allocated, whether it be pooled or segregated. Pooled would be you own part of a bar, but you have legal title to it. So as long as we have rule of law, you can get that gold and silver out, but there would be a redemption process. Or if you want to pay a little bit more, go to someone that also has the allocated and segregated storage, where you're buying a specific piece or chunk of metal that belongs only to you. No one else has a claim on it. You don't have to share it. You still have proper legal title, and it'll cost you a little bit more though, because they'll store it separately for you, which requires them to take some extra security procedures. And make sure that they have some sort of reporting about what you have that's online and you can get quick access. And hopefully there's some redemption options, whether you go physically to pick it up, or whether in another case, you simply redeem it through a debit card, or redeem it, selling it and getting cash back or wire ACH to your account. Make sure there are pathways for you to get access either to the gold, silver, or the cash value of it when you need it, because that's the whole point. Otherwise, you're probably just going to want to store it at home if you have any concerns about that. So ask questions to alleviate your concerns. Pay attention to the scams that are out there. Understand them. Pay attention to our recommendations. Find people like myself or others who really do a lot of due diligence before we put a sponsor on the program. And we're not just, going after the sponsor money, but we actually look at the business and talk to the business and meet with them. We do that for people that we recommend. We do that as a service to you. So definitely Kinesis and CyberMills, Jam Bullion are two good options. There are other ones out there, but just be careful about the way that you're approaching that and do your own research. All right, this is going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys found it very helpful. I know that a lot of people are going to start coming into gold and silver as the economic problems progress and we get further into recession and mainstream media keeps talking about the death of the dollar and the recession. People are naturally going to go to gold and silver. You're going to see advertisements on TV. You're going to get it through email. You're going to see it through social media and web forums. Make sure you do your due diligence. Check the Better Business Bureau. Check reviews from people like myself who actually do our own due diligence before we bring these people on. Talk to the companies. Look for the success factors. Look for the warning signs. If you see red flags, be careful. Don't put your money there until you answer the questions around those red flags to your satisfaction. And if you don't, walk away because there's more than one provider out there. You're not obligated to go with any particular one, including the ones I recommend on my program. All right, that's full transparency from us. Thank you for joining today. Hopefully this is very helpful. The live did not go off today, so we recorded this one. It was a technology issue between YouTube and our various different apps, none of which were working. So we'll return and do a live again next week. But we wanted to get this content out to you today, and we felt it was very important. So no delays. We got that out for you. Till next time, this is Rob 𝘲𝙀😾 with GoldSilverPros.com.
Hey, thanks for watching. We selected these videos just for you. Check them out. And remember, $4.99 a month keeps the lights on and the channel going. So join our Gold Silver Pro supporter membership. We appreciate your support. Keep stacking.